So I'm still working on the dirt work all around my house. And I just finished up this retaining wall and regraded this part of the yard. It's been 7 days since I put the grass seed down, and just today I'm really starting to see the grass start coming in. So that side of the driveway is pretty much done. Now I need to do something with this side. So like that side, I need to build a retaining wall on this side, but this one's going to be much smaller. My plan is to do like a 90-degree L coming off the basement foundation, just around this man door here, kind of like I have it roughly dug out. So like a 90-degree corner right there, and then kind of step it down to maybe somewhere around here. And then I need to move this whole hillside back. So this hill kind of has a nice slope now, but I want to move that whole slope back maybe 10 feet or so I can widen my driveway. So after I build this wall, somewhere right here, I want that to continue straight and then kind of curve. So I need to move this hill all the way back so I have like a 30 foot wide driveway. Luckily, I was able to dig up a handful more of the same blocks that I used on the other wall, but this is everything the place had left, so I have to make these work. But the very first thing I have to do is move my septic tank line. It's been just obnoxiously running through the middle of my basement, and eventually when I started to do the plumbing for the addition, I was going to move it along the back wall. I'm not ready to do that yet, but now it's in the way for this grading job. So I'm just going to get it out of the way now. It's running through the wall there, pretty straight to the septic tank, which is right there. So we have to trench that up and then cut maybe like a 45, new trench coming this way to the corner of the house, core drill another hole through the foundation and run it along that back wall. That is one of my perimeter gutter drain pipes that runs down and out. I don't know if my new septic pipe's going to be above that or below that. I think it'll be below that. right, this is finally done. Took a lot more screwing around than I thought it was gonna be, but we had to end up redigging the trench or make it wider because the original trench we just eyeballed. I started laying the pipe in there and I just couldn't find the right combination of fittings to make the pipe sit right in the trench. So we had to widen that, and I got 245 here and then another 45 into the house. I guess I'm not a great plumber, but I didn't think about that when we were digging the trench. But it's done right now and I feel good about it. So I have the right fall going all the way down to the septic tank, and then coming up to the house, I drilled that hole in the corner of the foundation, put the pipe through, waterproofed that, sealed that up nice, put a clean out there, and then I never put a gutter downspout drain when the time comes, so I added that into my perimeter gutter drain. It's also really nice not to have this pipe running through the middle of my basement garage now. If any of you remember from the beginning, the original house, this was all under dirt, and I had to leave that septic line running through to the tank because we're still living in that house. So I was kind of working around this until I was ready to move it back along that wall. So it's really nice not having to hit my head on this. Here it is coming through that corner of the wall, and I still have to fasten it to the foundation. But now that that's finally moved, that's where the old one was running, to the tank. The main point of this project is to move that so I could start working on this retaining wall here. So I'm going to backfill the new trench and then start cutting all this in and getting a rough grade enough to put my wall in, figure out how I'm going to build that wall, and then do a final grade and backfill and see what I can do. So I had to rerun this gutter downspout drain. I don't know why I had originally put it where I did. It was in a really bad spot, so I had to lower it. Now I'm probably 6 or 8 inches below the basement floor. So I'm trying to make this wall function right and have it look halfway decent. I got a really good deal on these blocks. They were pretty cheap, but they were all just random different varieties of blocks. So I don't really have what I need for this wall to work properly. Like, these are full depth blocks, but they're half width. And these are like end wall top blocks, and you're not really supposed to stack these on top of each other like this. But I'm only going too high. I think I can make that work. But also, like, I can't stagger these. I can't shift this one over here and then that half block there, because you can't stack this one on top of this half block because it's not full depth. So I'm trying to figure out how to make this work. One shot.
One shot, gang.
right. I used all of the retaining wall blocks that I had, and I had to modify them a little bit like I did on my other wall. These are my custom top blocks that I made so my dirt can come up right up to this edge, and the grass line will look pretty clean after I fill all that in with dirt. But it was just enough to do what I needed to do. I just needed something around this man door, and I think it turned out pretty nice. It matches my other wall, and I think it'll look good once I finish backfilling around it. So I've got a perforated drain pipe laying at the bottom of this wall and kind of behind it there, so when I fill all of these blocks with wash gravel and then fill wash gravel up around that pipe, any water pressure from the dirt and behind this wall will find its way to that pipe and then run down the side of the driveway that's going downhill over there. So I'm gonna fill these with gravel and then backfill behind the wall with dirt and then start regrading that whole side of the yard next to the driveway. All right, I got all my subsoil graded out. I'm trading some loads of clay for some loads of topsoil. I got this hillside cut in, I think the way I want it. There's kind of like a swale ditch right there. That's where the driveway is going to go to. I got to fill that in with driveway material still. The grass on this side of the yard's coming in pretty nice where I did this wall. Before I started building this house, I never would have guessed how much dirt work I would have been doing. There was just so much dirt that needed to be moved, pretty much from the style of house I went with, this walkout basement. Digging it into that hillside and then digging underneath the old house took a lot of work, and then regrading all this yard. It was a lot more dirt moving than I realized. But I'm getting close now. I'm gonna start spreading this topsoil out, get some grass seed and straw down. All right, that's gonna wrap it up for this project. I am mostly done with all my yard grading work now. So it's gonna be nice once all this grass grows in. That side's looking pretty good, and I'll finally have grass to mow again. And I'm really happy with the way these retaining walls turned out. It changes the whole look of the house and the yard and everything. And I mentioned before, I got these retaining wall blocks really cheap. If I were to pay retail price for all of these blocks, these walls would have cost me probably close to $10,000. So I'm only in it maybe $1,500 plus probably $2,000 worth of wash gravel and base material, but that was well worth it. I would have had to found another retaining wall system if I didn't find these blocks, but I'm really glad I did, because I think they look awesome. But it is time to start working on the house again. I have a little more money saved up, and winter is gonna come quick. It's already September, so I'm gonna see what I can get done on the house.